Good evening. My name is Paul. Thank you for joining me this evening. Today we're going to be talking about operating a boat on the Delaware River and kind of traversing the water from the Deptford boat ramp to the Delaware Memorial Bridge. On the last call, last conference or webinar, we talked and we stopped at the Deptford ramp. So this week we're just going to pick up right at the Deptford ramp and keep on going south. The river is not going to be changing from a small, compact river with a lot of houses on the side of it and some industrial build-up on the sides to now it's mostly going to be industrial facilities with lots of ports, lots of container ships coming in and out, lots of things to pay attention to while you're operating on this area. So the water kind of changes, and we'll see that as we travel along the river here on the chart. All right, again, as I've been saying before, this webinar is in partnership with John Anderson, Happy Captain's Boating Instruction, and Sea Scout Ship 117. So quick housekeeping stuff. Again, please try to not have or use any profanity. Profanity and negative comments about different places. Those things are really difficult to find in the editing software and remove and clean up before I post it online. Please try not to use those things. Second thing is please have your video camera off. There's things in the background and it pops up and it can be awkward unless you want to ask a question. If you do want to ask a question, there are three dots in a circle on the bottom right of your screen. Feel free to press that and push the raise the hand button. If I see that, I'll call on you and yeah, we'll talk and address your question. Okay, who am I? Again, my name is Paul Whitman. If this is your first webinar, I currently hold a 100-ton captain's license. I've been boating in the area basically for my entire life. I operate a tour boat. I do boating safety lessons. I teach people how to operate their boat. I go fishing in the area, and I support the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Tonight's monitor and assistant, all things technology, is Caitlin Whitman. She's going to be awesome and helpful this evening. The area of water, the topic today is, again, the Deptford boat ramp to the Delaware Memorial Bridge. The application we're going to be using this evening is Argo. Every other webinar, I am switching from the top three is Navionics, Argo, and Aquamaps. Next upcoming webinar is going to be on the 9th, and there's going to be Christiana, River, and General Trip Planning. Okay, I'm going to now transition to the chart. Okay, so for orientation purposes, again, this is the Argo app. If I zoom out, you can see that this is Philadelphia up here. You can see the word Philadelphia. We have Camden. There's a hospital there. And if we're going to zoom in to the West Deptford boat ramp. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust some settings. So it's going to be a little bit more pleasant for us to look at. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the NOAA maps. A little bit easier to look at. Let's look at the nav aids. Make sure everything is turned on. I can see the buoys, I can see lights, rocks, obstructions, and the exposed wrecks. All of these are turned on. That's great. Let's check the navigation controls, the depth shading, contour lines. Bring that down a little bit. Fault. Okay, that looks good. Every time you open these apps, you want to make sure that everything is good to go before you start messing with them. Because once you start messing with them, and if you put in a track or a route or you build something, it could have a domino effect and ruin your plan, or it could ruin your estimate. And that if you plan on going from here in the Deptford area to Baltimore and you push go and your settings aren't right, it could route you over an island, or it could route you over a shallow area, or it could compute the distance incorrectly, and it could mess up your entire plans. Okay, so we're looking at here. Right here, you can see where the boat ramp is. We have an image. We have a little. So one thing I do not like, fortunately, about the Arco app is all of these buttons down here, right? So we have the groups, we have the feed, we have messages and friends, and all these buttons just to clog up, accidentally bumped. I'm going to try to use the annotation button. So right here, this is the West Deptford boat ramp. Stop that. Zoom in. And if you can see here on the West Deptford boat ramp, it is really shallow at the ramp. So make sure you're using caution, especially at low tide, because at low tide, you can run into an issue where the docks are literally out of the water, and you may or may not be able to get your boat off the trailer. So please be mindful of low tide. And even after low tide, further we get into the summer, the longer the weeds have to grow. So right now, if you go out into the water, you're not going to have much in the way of seaweed. But come August, that seaweed in the area is now going to be 3 foot, 4 foot high, almost like a tree coming up out of the ground. That even though it says 3 foot, like that, like it does here, you could still be in an area where you could be grabbing some seaweed with your propeller. It could create an issue. All right, we're going to be coming out of the West Deptford boat ramp. There is another boat ramp. I'm going to switch this to the satellite so we can see these things on land here. There is another boat ramp right here. I'll circle this so you see it. This boat ramp is a dirt boat ramp, dirt/sand. I would only recommend using it at high tide or mid tide to high tide. If you use it at low tide, there's a possibility that your truck is going to get stuck in the mud. And your truck would not be the first truck that I've seen get stuck in the mud. It happens quite frequently on the weekends during the boating season. If I zoom out a little bit, we can see here that there's a nice, pretty little island here. It's called No Name Island. Beautiful place to come and hang out. Feel free to pull your boat up and dock and anchor. You can either beach your boat or you can anchor your boat. Talk about right here. The best way to get into this area would be coming along this side. Zoom out a little bit here. And change this back to the NOAA vision. Come on. Okay, so you can see the sandbar, right? The hidden sandbar underneath that water. Annotate a little bit here so we can see this, right? Where I am tracing, that contour is about 9 feet at low tide. The closer you get, the shallower it gets. You can get your boat as far up as you want, basically to the north end of this island, where it says at zero. That zero right here, I don't trust that zero. It's a whole lot deeper there, because you got to think about the way the river flows. The river is flowing down river, right, and out. So all the water is hitting that, going around and kind of excavating that sand out. And the sand then gets pulled out and comes around and gets piled on this side. It's piled on this side. So this beach slowly gets longer and longer and longer on this side. And you can see that if I switch over to the satellite imagery, you can see how that works, right? So you can see the north side, the upriver side, it's kind of deep, right? You can't eat it. All the sand here is way open, real deep on this side of your screen. So this side is nice and good. Plenty of room here to operate your boat. But on the other side, you can see all that sand. And that's where you're going to anchor your boat or beach your boat on this side. So if it's high tide and you're operating your boat, don't do this, right? Because you could run aground right here at high tide. That would not be a good scenario. Okay, zoom out. And we're going to start going south on the Delaware River. A hazard I want to point out is a anchorage. This anchorage is for tugboats and container ships, right? You can see this tugboat right here. I'm zooming in on it. This tugboat is anchored, so it's not moving. You don't see any telltale signs on the back of the boat showing that it's moving, right? If it was moving, you would see water like this, right? You would see the wake of the boat moving as if it was going in this direction. It is not going in that direction. Right now, it is anchored. If this was a clearer image, you might be able to zoom in and actually see the anchor cable or the anchor line, and you don't see that. But what you have here is a dedicated safe anchorage. So these ships can anchor here and they don't have to have their anchor light on. They usually anchor here while they're staging to go into the ports on either right here along the airport, or they're going to be staging and going up into the Schuylkill River to where all the waste treatment area is, or some of the refineries up here in the Philadelphia area. So this is a staging area. Why am I saying this? Why am I highlighting this? Because a lot of people, when they come out of the Deptford ramp, they come in along behind the No Name Island, and they come out and they just zip through here, right? You can do that. Feel free. Just be careful of these boats, these ships, because they're not moving. They're sitting there anchored. And not only be careful of the ships, but also be careful of the anchor lines. You don't want to run over anything. Okay. While we're here, I want to highlight there is a yacht club right here. All right, this is the National Park Yacht Club. Great group of guys. These have all sorts of parties all over during the summer. We can drop a link to their group, their club, if you want to join it. They have a limited dock space. I can zoom in so you can see the dockage here. It's all bulkhead space, not a lot of room. There used to be a restaurant down here. This restaurant, Coconut Grove, does not exist. The building is there, but there's not a restaurant. Don't go in here expecting there to be a restaurant. All right, as you do come in here, be careful of the shallows. If you've signed on to any of our previous webinars, especially the Rancocas webinar, you would know that all the icing in these small channels and these small creeks has caused great changes in the topography underneath the water. So make sure you're just paying attention to it, especially if it's your first time in and out. For this area in particular, I mean, you have plenty of water. So we have a 6 foot, we have a 7 foot. I should annotate this here. All right, right here we have 6 foot, we have 7 foot, we have 9, and we have 10. Okay, but where you have anywhere where you're going to have a stream, want this, a stream that comes in and dumps into the river, a stream that comes in and dumps into the river, you're going to get a small sandbar. Okay, you're going to get a small sandbar. So, so these are the areas we have to be careful because of the changes from the ice. So you can come in here, absolutely have a good time. Come on in. They have a bar, great group of people, lots of parties during the summer. So, to get into this area, it's kind of basically a straight line. Zoom back out. So if I were to draw a straight line here, to come out of the boat ramp, I do a straight line down along the coast in between No Name Island and New Jersey. And then all you got to do is make a hard right. Oh, I didn't get far enough. You make a hard port as soon as you're dead to the, you're not dead, but you are, I can't talk today. This is why it takes so long to edit all these videos. As soon as the channel is directly off of your port beam at a 90-degree angle, then you take a hard port and you can drive straight up the creek without any issues. All right, we're going to keep sliding to the south a little bit. We have an anchorage right here. I did not highlight it on the agenda. A nice little anchorage right here. This is the River Winds anchorage. I will note, though, that this anchorage has been getting shallower and shallower and shallower every year that I've gone in here. A lot of people come in here and they hang out, they throw their anchor and they relax. A good spot to do it because it's nice and shallow. The way people get in here, they bring their boat down and it's just about about face and come on in. Should have changed that color. So we're going to come down the river, take a hard port, and come on in. But you have to be careful not to get too close to the edge, right? Because all of this is just getting filled and filled with silt. Because the silt from the river follows that exact same path. And it has been getting shallower and shallower. And the area that you're able to anchor and relax in, it just keeps getting pushed closer and closer to the mouth of the bay. So if you're going to go in there this year, again, tread lightly, go in there at high tide, monitor your depth finder, just pay attention to it, and don't be surprised if it's shallower than you expect it to be. You can look at a tidal gauge. There's one right here. Just saying there's an inlet there. But your tidal swing in this area is looking at about 4 feet to 5 feet. So if you're going there at high tide and you're only looking at 4 feet below your boat, you don't want to stay in there because at low tide, you're going to be on the mud and you're not going to have any room to get out. But if you go in there at high tide and you have 6 feet underneath your boat, then you should have plenty of room at low tide if you only need about maybe a couple inches to a foot to get out. But mind your draft in that scenario. All right, we're gonna keep going south a little bit. There is a Paulsboro Inlet right here. There's really nothing in this area. This is all just commercial port. If if you come in here, about the furthest you can go is this bridge. There's no support services. There's some houses back here, but there's no marinas. There's no fuel dock. There's nothing back here. There's just this guy has a long dock that people use. Other than that, there's no marinas or anything up this river. All right, back out the Delaware River, going south. All right, for reference, point of reference, this is the airport. This is a really cool place to come and hang out. You can watch the airplanes all day long if you want, but don't anchor. You don't want to anchor in the Delaware River. What? Is you want to go, you're going to want to go back behind Tinicum Island, and it gets shallow back there, and you get good holding, and you get out of the path of the commercial vessels. And it's also never a good idea. It's also illegal to anchor in a commercial channel, so you don't want to block that channel. This gap here, I'll zoom in, has been getting smaller and smaller, I think, every year. So be careful when you go through here this year. It'll be important to pay attention. Let me switch back to the standard, not the standard. So let me switch back to the NOAA chart. Might be easier to see this on the NOAA chart. All right, there we go. So to come in back behind Tinicum Island, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming down screen. We're going to be coming down the Delaware River, and then we're going to kind of hug the Pennsylvania side and go in. All right, you got to really pay attention to where your depths are. This is, I don't know what that distance is from here over. You just have to kind of play with it. If you look at the water on this deep hole, you will see a change in the water. This deep hole right here, that has like a visual change in the water. The water is not smooth right there because of the depth contour rapid change there. It's kind of like a bubbly effect there, and that's where you cut through. Okay, so you can see here through depth wise, there's basically a channel that cuts through here. We have, if we're looking at the north side, the top of the screen, that is the airport side. We have 4 foots. All right, we have 4 foot, we have 0, we have 1. Towards the bottom, we have a 1 foot, we have a 4 foot, we have a 0. But in the middle of it, in between, we have a clear channel that is there available, right? I'll just kind of outline it for you here. All right, this is how you want to go in. You want to aim for the bubbly water and just go right through there to get in and out. And you'll be completely safe. You should not run into anything in there, and you'll make out fine. All right, and once we get back behind Tinicum Island, there's usually 95% of the time, there's never any issue with going back there. You'll never get yelled at because I know some people probably would ask, hey, what about that airport? Are we allowed back there? Should there be any concerns about that? No, don't be worried about it at all. The only instance I've ever been approached by anybody is when Air Force One is coming in and out of the city. When they do that, they close that area for obvious reasons. But other than that, you don't have to worry about any issues. Gonna jump back over to the satellite view so we can see the island here. This island is a great place to anchor up. A lot of people pull their boats up to Tinicum Island and just relax during the summer. It can get hot on the sand, but other than that, people come and they relax on the island and have a good time. Feel free. All right, now we're going to come to our first marina on the Pennsylvania side. And this is really where all of the marinas are on the Pennsylvania side. There really isn't anything south of here between here and the Delaware Memorial Bridge. There really is nothing because it goes from kind of residential area to all industrial south of here. Okay, right here, the first marina that we're going to come to is Anchorage Marina. I will maybe draw a line around this. Anchorage Marina. Anchorage Marina is your fuel stop in this area. If you are going to be boating in this area, or if you're boating even by Philadelphia, Anchorage Marina has a 24-hour, 365-day-a-year fuel pump system. It is not attended. What you do is you pull up to their dock, you tie up your boat, you get out, you figure out what number fuel pump it is, like 1, 2, 3, or 4. Then you go over to the credit card machine, you put your you say, okay, pump 4, you put your card in, it asks you how much you want to put in it. Do you want to put how many gallons do you want to put in there? Our boat takes 25 gallons, so I usually just put 25 in there. And then you just go over to the pump, flick the switch, turn it on. I'll pull the handle off, turn it on, and you're good to go. So when you're done filling it up, you go back, you put the handle in the pump, and you go back over to the pay station, and your receipt prints out. Okay. The next marina we come to is Golden Point Marina. This marina does not have a website, but this marina is here. There's quite a few support services in this area. I mean, if we can zoom in here, you can see which yards are active yards. You can see which yards are not active yards. One yard will have these guys over here at Fox's Grove Marina. They have a pretty active like handyman or repair guy that'll do all sorts of repairs on your boats. Same thing if you jump over to Anchorage Marina. Anchorage Marina has a pretty decent like ship store. If you go over there, you get all the supplies that you need and some repair parts. There's also a upholstery guy in here. There's a sail repair guy in here. There's all sorts of repair stuff in this area.
Excuse me, if you're pointing to things and trying to show us something, I'm not seeing anything on the screen. You're just popping up names, but I don't know which one's which.
Okay. Okay, so Anchorage Marina. Is right here. All right, this is Anchorage Marina. Anchorage Marina has a ship store and you can get some repair parts so you can work on your boat. They also have a fuel dock. Their fuel dock is located right here. Sure you can see it with the shed on it. It's located right here. All right. We'll zoom out. The next marina we have next to it is Golden Point Marina. That is right here. Okay, Golden Point Marina does not have a website. They do have slips available. They do have a phone number if you Google them and you bring up their Google Maps ID. It does have a phone number associated with them if you're looking for a slip. The next marina we come up to is the Harbor Light Yacht Club. Circle that one. That is this right here. And next marina come across is Fox's Grove Marina. That is this one right here. Okay. Now, of these 4 marinas, Fox's Grove Marina, I know, has a repair person that works out of their marina, does all sorts of repairs on boats. I also know that there is a guy at one of these marinas. It gets really confusing when you go there as to which marina is which and which guy is at which marina. But one of these marinas, there is a guy that works on upholstery, and at another marina, there's a guy that works on sails. To me, it gets confusing when you get over there as to which guy is in which because they're so close together. All right, I'm gonna slide over a little bit further south, and now we're going to be coming across the Riverside Yacht Club. So Riverside Yacht Club. Okay. Riverside Yacht Club is a private club. We will share the link to their We will share a link to their club. They are pretty active. They have a lot of stuff going on over there. They're very welcoming to neighboring clubs, specifically because, stop annotating. There are 3 other clubs immediately adjacent to them. Stop doing that. Immediately adjacent to this is a club we just highlight. This is Riverside Yacht Club. We have the Corinthian. Change the color. Identify it. This is the Corinthian that comes all the way out here because they have a whole lot of sailboats that are anchored out on mooring balls. And we have the West End Boating Club. All 3 of these boating clubs or yacht clubs are very active. Each one usually has something going on any given weekend. We'll drop the link to their individual clubs. Feel free to check them out. They're very active in the area. Yeah, have fun. Before we leave this area and looking at this area, I want to highlight something. This is some of the most challenging. These marinas right here, all 4 of these marinas are some of the most challenging slips to dock in the area. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because of the river's current. The way the river's current works is it goes either this way really fast or it goes this way really fast. And if we zoom in on the slips, all right, we can see how they're docked. They're either docked nose in, bow to the current, or stern to the current. So when you are operating your boat and you are traveling in and out of these fairways, it can be very challenging. Okay, you have to use some technique called a ferrying technique. We teach it, and I know Ed teaches it during our on-water sessions. You have to use some very good techniques, some very good close quarters boat handling to get in and out of some of these scenarios and some of these situations because the current can be so strong at this location. Sliding south a little bit, and we're going to come across Ridley Creek here. Ridley Creek connects to the Delaware River. I'll take this. Not yellow, pick a different color. Okay, this is Ridley Creek. It snakes back in here, back underneath Route 95, and you can go to the Ridley Marina. Couple notes before I zoom in. What I want to highlight is that this is a tidal creek. Why do I highlight that? Because every time, twice or three times a day, let's zoom this out so you can see the water. Okay, why am I highlighting this? Because of all of the water. Okay, all of this water, it's like a bathtub. Okay, this bathtub gets filled at high tide. As the tide's coming up, all the water is going to come in and fill the bathtub. As the tide's coming out, all of that water, all of this water now has to go out here, has to come out here. So if I zoom in, change this back to the satellite view so we can see what we're looking at. You can imagine, think of it like pulling the plug on a bathtub. Okay, all this water up above this inlet, up above this ramp. So we have a ramp right here. We have a boat ramp right here. That's the Ridley Municipal ramp. All the water above this ramp has to come out underneath this bridge. This can cause some very turbulent water as you're going underneath this bridge. It can cause some very swift currents in this area. So be mindful of that. Have people on your boat ready to go, have lines ready to go. Don't think of it lightly. Okay, if you're going to go through this area, just kind of have a plan and be ready to go. Or plan traversing this area at mid-tide or at the top of the tide before it switches to low, or at the low tide before it switches to high. Okay. We can drop the links in to that ramp and that marina. All right, going back out to the Delaware River. And we're going to go south slightly. Oh, I'm going to switch it back to marine chart so we can see what we're looking at. Okay, I haven't highlighted this before today, but I want to highlight something called a range light. A range light can be used to help you find the center of the channel while you are traveling in the channel. So you can see in the center of the screen, we kind of have a road highlighted here. So on this side, I want a straight line, is the red channel markers. This side is the green channel markers. Now, I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but if you zoom in, there's an arrow in the middle. You see this arrow? I'll annotate it here. An arrow. Okay, so what is that arrow annotating? You can't see the arrow actually in real life, but with the arrow, if we follow it all the way down, it goes to a range light. It connects to two towers over here. It connects to this tower, and it connects to this tower. What that is essentially is two lights. Draw it here. Not sure what the colors of these two are, but there are two lights. One light here, and one light here. If you put these two lights on top of each other, you'll be good to go, and your boat will be in the center of the channel, and you'll be nice and safe. If you're like this, and the two lights are not on top of each other, that means that you are not in the center of the channel. And what you want to do is bring this bottom light over until it's directly underneath the top light. And then you will be perfectly in center of the channel. All right, let's work our way south. Back to where we are. Right here is Chester Island. I do not suggest, I suggest staying between the Pennsylvania side and the island. I suggest that because that is where the deeper section of the water is. You can see there is 29, you can see it's 37. But then you think, okay, hey, I don't need that much water for my boat. It's nice and shallow. Only drafts a little bit of water. All right, then I zoom in close enough, and you can see that the water, the closer you get to the island, really quickly goes to 3 feet. So you really run out of water really fast. Same thing on the other side. Some people like to see if they can slide around the backside of Chester Island, and there's only a really small channel to do so, and it's really hard to find unless you have a wave runner or if you have a kayak. You can see that it's all 3 foot, 1 foot, 0, or some 6 or some 12. That's only that real narrow channel that's back there. We have 0 feet, we have 3 feet, we have 2 feet. It's not worth it to take your boat and try to go around the New Jersey side of Chester Island. It's just not worth it. All right, so in this area, stay to the Pennsylvania side, stay at least in the channel in this area. Try not to go near Chester Island. Going south a little bit, here we come across the Commodore Barry Bridge. Believe it or not, there is a ramp directly underneath the Commodore Barry Bridge. See if I can change this to satellite so you can see it. Okay, I'll zoom in. There you go. You can see the bridge, the ramp. See it right here. All right, this ramp is free. It is available to use, but considering its location, I would make sure that you don't leave any valuables in your vehicle and make sure that it's locked. It has a very large parking lot that you can use. It's right over here. Again, it is free. We have a link to the Google location. We'll drop that in for your use. All right, there's also a neat area to hang out. I don't know if you're ever a fan of the Philadelphia Union or not, but I mean, if you want to sit down here and hang out and tailgate on your boat, feel free. I mean, you can pull your boat out here and throw an anchor out. All right, it gets pretty shallow pretty quick, but it's quite all right. I mean, this area right offshore, it's 21 feet, but the closer you get to it, it gets pretty shallow pretty quick. I mean, you're going to be in 5 foot, 6 foot right off of there. But the closer and closer and closer you get to the shore, I would not anchor here. If I were to anchor anywhere, I would anchor out over here. Okay. These black balls that you see here, they do indicate some older bollards, there's old wood beams that could be there or could not be there. Just be mindful of them if you go in that area. I'm pretty sure they've all been removed. Those are left over from old bulkheads. 99% sure that they are not there. All right, I keep going south on Delaware River. All right. Don't really have much going on here. Again, it goes from this is all industrial area here, right? So I'll zoom out and we can see there's really not anything going on over here. You have Raccoon Creek. There's a boat club in here, Raccoon Creek Boat Club. We can get some depths coming in here. No, this isn't giving us any depth. It's saying it's 4 feet. I'll have to look, see if I get some better depth readings on something different. I don't have a good path to get in there. We'll keep going south on Delaware River. There's really nothing to do out here. You can fish along here. You can hang out along here, but there's really nothing over here to do. It's all industrial, all bare. Again, all industrial, all bare. Right here, we are in front of Wilmington. Back to the satellite so you can see the city. Get an idea as to where you are. Right in front of Wilmington, there is a sandbar, kind of like an island. If you're driving your boat at high tide, you won't see it. You're just going to see that the river, the channel markers split. And you're going to be like, why does it split? I don't know why it splits. And you may say to yourself, hey, why don't I just keep going straight right across there? But if you do, you could run aground. That would not be a good idea because if we zoom in close enough, we can see that there's 2 foot, 3 foot. It gets shallow really quick in the middle. At low tide, you can see that sandbar, you can see that island. So make sure that you veer away from it. You follow the channel in this area. I mean, you don't have to stick exactly to the channel in this area because we're only talking pleasure craft and trolling 3 foot, 4 foot. But again, you don't want to go right over that sandbar and run aground. We go a little bit further south here, and we've reached the end of our talk today. And this is the Delaware Memorial Bridge. All right. Is there any questions about anything I highlighted on this chart? Do you want to go back and look at anything in more detail?
Oh, just real quick, just going back to the Darby Creek. I've never been up there. And just looking on the chart, it looks like there's a railroad bridge with very low clearance, but it indicates that's kept open most of the time. Is that your experience as well?
That has been my experience. That is it's a CTX railroad bridge. They do try to keep that open, but it is used quite frequently. It is not a stationary bridge. Are you talking about the defunct bridge, or are you talking about the active
you're correct.
bridge?
The railway bridge that you're talking about, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The railroad bridge that does open and close constantly throughout the day.
Okay.
Yeah, constantly. That's used quite a bit. That's your take a CTX, your Conrail bridge. You also have Amtrak that uses that as well, going between Philadelphia and Wilmington.
Yeah, there's a big sign there with a phone number on it if it is down.
Okay.
That you can call.
I don't mind waiting to get going up to Darby Creek, but I would imagine once I'm done up there, I'm ready to come back, and don't want to wait 4 hours.
Yeah, not seeing any links to any information on it.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's a nice restaurant up there, though, on the Darby Creek.
Yeah, there is a nice restaurant up here, but they don't have any docks. It's Stinger's Waterfront. They don't have any docks. So all the docks in front of it are either rented out, they're seasonal slips, or it's the docks for the boat ramp. So there are no restaurant slips, unfortunately. So that's what kind of why I didn't highlight it as a place to stop and eat. If you're looking for places to stop and eat, there are all sorts of them in the Wilmington area. I'm going to be covering that on Wednesday. But the Wilmington area has all sorts of them. Once you go up into the Christiana River, there's a couple restaurants right on the river that have docks right there.
Nice.
Yep. You got Iron Hill Brewery. Got Bank Seafood. Yeah, quite a few over here. But it's a hike for many people, and many people don't come up here, unfortunately. But yeah. Stop sharing. Okay, was there any questions about anything? And again, did anybody want to see? I think we covered about basically everything. All right, the next conversation, which is going to be on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the Christiana River, just kind of real quick snippet of the Christiana River because it's really short. And then we're going to talk to just kind of general trip planning. Probably going to have Navionics or Argo. We'll see what the preference is for everybody on the call. And we'll just kind of go over, hey, this is how we're going to plan a trip from pick an area, wherever, say, Philadelphia to the bottom of, or the C&D Canal or that area, and say, okay, this is how we're going to find the tides. This is what the currents are going to do. This is where we're going to stop for fuel. This is what we're going to do, and this is how you can use the app to do that. Yeah, I think that's how I'm going to focus Wednesday's conversation. After that, we do have a New Jersey boating safety class coming up on the 26th. I had one this Saturday on the 12th. Well, it looks like we're going to have to cancel. We don't have enough people signed up for it. So the next one coming up is going to be the 26th in Pennsville. And that's a wrap.